right, we got everybody. There we go. Okay, awesome. Well, all right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Allison Rokes, and I'm the new business strategy manager and account services director at Nine Clouds, as well as your host for today. For those of you who might be new to us, Nine Clouds, who is also the host for today, is a digital marketing agency that helps businesses better understand their marketing performance and make smarter business decisions using data and technology. So we're hosting this webinar today because AI is becoming a big part of how businesses operate, and we're getting a lot of questions about how to actually use it in practical, responsible way as we head into 2026. We're getting questions like, is it safe? How do you even use it? What tools do you use it with? And so on. So, all of which we're going to chat through today. So, a few housekeeping things before we head into introductions for Karissa and Jenny here. This session is being recorded. So we'll send out the recording along with any follow-up resources after the webinar. And questions are welcomed and encouraged. We have Jordan, also from Nine Clouds, monitoring the Zoom chat today. And if you have any questions, please send them there. We'll have a section for Q&A at the end. But the chat is the best place to put those questions for now. So with that, we'll get into some introductions. So first today we have Karissa Kopecki. Karissa, will you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Karissa Kopecki. Boy, I've spent 20 years in marketing. The last 13 of those focused on B2B global marketing. I work with leadership teams with the goal of building and executing growth strategies across multiple markets. Most of my work is done in lean teams, which I'm sure most everyone is familiar with these days. And that just means being very intentional about how our time and tools are used. So I came to AI from a very practical place, not necessarily because it was trendy, but because I needed a better way to reduce the day-to-day friction and support better decision making. So I'll let you know the lens today that I'm kind of approaching everything with is that AI should not be should be supporting people, not replacing them. So if it doesn't have the ability to save me time and create clarity, then I don't use it.
Love it. Thanks, Carissa. Jenny, will you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I am Jenny Wegg, and I work at Nine Clouds with Allison. And I am a digital strategist as well as I work on the technical side at Nine Clouds, helping with a lot of the back end things that we do in digital strategy. So I kind of have a lens of both avenues of the back end tech side, along with what you're doing out in the forefront with your digital marketing. And so my balance is between about, I'm going to say about 12 years in the marketing field, and really in the last 2 years is when we've really implemented all these AI tools for our clients and for ourselves in our day-to-day operations.
Perfect. Okay. Well, let's get into it. How we're gonna go about today is talking through some myths and just the perspectives of the three of us about those AI myths. So, Carissa, you actually hit on the first one, so obviously I know the answer to this question, but the first myth is AI is replacing people. And so, Carissa, talk to us a little bit more about your perspective and why.
Yeah, I think that AI doesn't replace people. It replaces the overwhelm of a job, right? It removes the repetitive and the draining parts of work. But people still have to own the strategy and the judgment and the relationships. AI can elevate a really good team, but it cannot fix a broken one. That's kind of my takeaway on what AI can do with replacement. It
Yeah,
won't.
I completely agree. Jenny, how about you? Your perspective.
Yep, 100% agree with Carissa there. It can replace the overwhelm, the busy workness of it, but not the talent. And the thing that I've found really interesting is consumers are developing an AI lens where they can sense and detect when AI is being used. Like one of the sure signs that I've seen a lot of people use as an example is using like a hyphen more often than you use a comment. Like that instantly makes people think, oh, maybe this is AI. use of emojis, like any little thing that can make it kind of stick out to make you question, was this AI or was this a real person? So just kind of looking at using it as the thing to reduce the busy work and give you more time to put into your thought process, possibly, but still using those human insights to drive what the final outcome is going to be.
I completely agree, Jenny, and I actually noticed myself doing this across just like my free time with TikToks recently. I feel like it's, I know this is terrible, but I feel like when I watch a TikTok, now I'm almost immediately questioning, oh, is this AI? What is the likelihood that this is AI? And so I feel like as a business, that's something you now have to do whenever you're creating content is this piece, whether it's a video, a graphic, a blog, whatever it is, gonna make somebody think that it was created by AI? And I feel like if there is an answer of yes, there's some work to probably should be done to make that not the
100%.
case.
And I think images are the easiest to identify right now. Just, the image aspect of it hasn't been developed as much to where there are definitely mistakes being made when an image is generated. But people are sensing it too in writing. When you write out a post, people can tell when it doesn't have that human connection and human interaction to it.
Yeah,
Groups
definitely.
of three.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another
Yes.
big one. You hit
Carissa,
on M dashes, right?
yeah,
Groups
Carissa,
of three.
expand on the group of three.
Yeah, where like, you're going to write something and it's blank, blank, and blank, where everything is in threes or short sentences of supports this period, supports this period, supports this period, where it sounds as if it's making a really strong point. But when you look at it and you kind of take an eagle eye view of the overall like blog post, for, let's say that you used AI to generate, almost every paragraph is going to have that. That's a very clear telltale, right? Like AI is going to give you this really great foundation of ideas and strategy that you could go with. You still have to have that human connection to build it.
I agree. And I think too, one other thing that it's kind of a little bit of a cheat code. But sometimes when I'm using AI to do like even an email to a client, I know, shocker, like that's something that I do often where I'm like, here's my meeting notes, give me a base for an email, right? Sometimes it gives me the email draft and I'll say, okay, now remove areas that make this look like AI did it. You can also add those cheat codes, but I think there still has to be that thorough check through. And it's almost like you need a checklist of like, are there repetitive words? Are there M dashes to look at? Are there this group of threes? Are you using, I've noticed headings too much, right? There's like this cheat code list of like, these are telltale giveaways that this was written by AI.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, this is great. Carissa, before we even got on here, we were talking with Betsy, our CTO, that you've been attending conferences too for AI work.
Yeah.
And you said that you've been implementing some things like often. Talk to us a little bit about the quality of attending AI conferences and how that's helped shape your perspective on AI.
Oh my. I try to attend a minimum of two each year. I'll do more if I can. And when I say conferences, I like a national conference. Local conferences can be just as good as well. I tend to go national just because I work with a global operation. And so I like the different perspectives of what different regions are doing because everyone does it different. I mean, almost state to state, even there's a variance. But I personally, I have my marketing AI certificate. And so I do the conferences also as a way to keep my hours going to keep my certificate. So
Sure.
different things like that. But man, I spend a dedicated about 10 hours a week right now. And granted, I just came back from a conference in October. And with the holidays, lost some time in there. But so I've got about 10 hours a week that I'm dedicating right now. But to implementing different AI pieces to replace some of the workloads. So like I have 7 AI custom GPTs they're on my staffing roster. They're on my org chart. They do different things within the marketing department. And they own that, right? So I know like when I need a narrator for something in plastics injection molding, like I'm going to go to this GPT because it's built to own what that is. The same with my digital strategy, and working like I work with Nine Clouds. You guys do my digital stuff for me, but I have a strategist that I use and I double check what I want, I double check what you're feeding me versus what we've been doing, so I have these different bots and that's all like it's a great piece of it where it kind of takes a lot of the excess legwork out of it and that really like in the overwhelming and tedious check
Absolutely.
and it can replace some of that for me, but I still have to go back through it and double
Right.
check it.
Yeah, that is such an interesting perspective of using your bots as staffed team members.
Yep.
I personally have never thought of that before, and I think that's a great way to think about it. So then do you follow it up with like staffing to check those things
Yes,
that it's creating?
always,
Oh yeah. Yep.
always.
Yeah, very good. Awesome.
But what would take 6 hours for one staff member now takes, 10 minutes for the chatbot to do, and
Yeah.
then 30 or 40 minutes for staff to double check.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Okay. Let's continue on with the second point. Second myth that we need to bust. I don't even know where to start using AI, and using it won't be beneficial for my business. Um, Jenny, can you share a few examples of where Nine Clouds has actually used AI that has been the most impactful?
100%. So we started with like very base level things. I'm talking meeting summaries and kind of the recaps. There's certain plugins you can use to do those things for you, certain tools you can use to kind of capture that. Whereas before we'd maybe staff a person to sit on a meeting with us and take notes. We can run this all through AI now and then use that person that was on there just to do the review of it. They don't have to take a whole hour of their day to sit there and listen and take the notes. They can do the review. They can prep it for whoever the account manager is and have that go out to the client then following the meeting. Another thing we like to use it for is campaign analysis, kind of using those insights that we have available to us and just kind of translate it. And sometimes it's as simple as using it to put our thoughts out there and then asking AI to help translate it to where the client can understand. Because one thing that happens a lot is we kind of talk above our clients' heads, things that are common knowledge to us, we just don't say it in the right way. So this can apply to, us talking to our clients. It could apply to you talking to your customers. Maybe you have a patient in a practice where you're so used to your medical jargon, but you want to make it so that it's easier for them to digest. You can use AI for those things to just kind of make it more into a plain language for them. And my personal favorite thing to use AI for is technical troubleshooting. So before, if we had an issue, I would have to go out and do, research to really find what the root of the problem was, and just literally using AI as a conversational piece of like, hey, this is my problem. I've tried this and this. Am I missing something? Is there somewhere else I can look? And just really looking at like the resources that they pull in for me and then giving that as my base point to go out and do my research from there, just to eliminate so much of the legwork right off the start. And then I can actually get to the problem.
Love it. Very good. Jenny, just for rough numbers, we've talked about how Nine Clouds has been using AI for about 2 years now. How much time would you say Nine Clouds has saved with using AI and also like other automations? We're lumping those in too because those are also time savers. They're things that just automatically happen that you don't have to be doing manually anymore. So, how much time would you say Nine Clouds has saved across the board?
So we actually track this very, very closely because we want to make sure that the time that we're investing into learning these tools and any money we're spending towards these tools is actually paying and makes sense and gives us an ROI for what we're investing into it. So we've estimated roughly 50 hours per month has been saved by AI and automations, just in making our processes a little bit more efficient and accurate in a way too. It's really eliminated a lot of the little errors we've seen in the past that have maybe slowed us down. And then using AI also to help us develop those automations because things that were maybe a little bit too technical for us or we didn't think we could quite figure out, AI has been really foundational in helping us develop those and implement them in a way that our whole team can understand it.
Perfect. Karissa, I'm curious. So, when and how did you first start using AI in your day to day?
Yeah, I mean, I off the bat when I started 2, 3 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
And just kind of playing with it a little bit myself, right? I could see the potential in what it had, and what it could do. I try to stay up to date with what's coming down the pipeline for that kind of thing, and or any kind of tool that's really going to simplify, especially working with a lean team. And so I really started small and personal. I didn't look at it from a company perspective yet. I started using it as like outlining a draft or summarizing articles, organizing my thoughts, definitely recapping my emails, and just giving, I mean, we all get overwhelmed with the number of emails that sit in our inbox. And I do this almost every morning where I'll go in and say, summarize all of my emails, prioritize them for me.
Nice.
And I let that be the start of my day, almost every day, just because it prioritizes the things that are urgent, needs immediate response versus the things that are, hey, don't forget about this, but it certainly doesn't need to be done right now, right?
Sure. Sure.
Um, I think the one thing that really helped me to not get so overwhelmed with AI and what all of the possibilities of AI were when I first started was not asking what AI could do, but asking me, like, what drains my time every week? And then using AI for that, like for what drained my time and not necessarily what it can do, because AI can do anything.
Right. Right.
Might
Well, and
do it really
sometimes
well, might not do it good at all, but it can do everything.
yeah.
Right.
And,
And
and
so
yeah.
just looking at, the adoption of it and how it grew once I started to trust it as a support tool and not a replacement. And now it's, certainly earned its way into my workflow. It saves me a lot of time.
Well, and I feel like there's a time period of training, right? There
For
where
sure.
you've got to know it's not going to be perfect right off the bat.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah. I mean, it's
you have to be willing to train it as a
right.
tool to learn you. And, now my AI knows what I do and where I work, and it keeps customizing its answers to, what
Yeah.
I'm looking for. So, um, and I think one thing that we've talked a lot about as Nine Clouds, especially with, answer engine optimization as a whole within the SEO bucket, and we were actually just talking about this yesterday. What we've seen, and Jenny, correct me if I'm wrong, is that, and what we've read, is that the slots for getting to be the top answer for these questions are only going to be open for so long. So if you
Mhm.
do not claim them, you lose out on them. And it's hard to get back some of this foundational AEO, answer engine optimization work that needs to be put in this year and next year before it's gone. Have you guys heard that same thing, Jenny?
Without a doubt, the early adopters are going to be rewarded in this. The longer you wait to, the hesitations, the thing that are holding you back, just go out and try something, see how it works, experiment with it, and then really implement what you are learning. And you will be rewarded tenfold, whether that be through Google's search engine, whether that be in the other platforms that you're using. They're noticing who is taking these early adoptions and who's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Carissa?
100%. Yeah, I mean, like this last conference I went to, they were talking, actually one of the gals that writes code for Google Gemini, was talking about they've lost like 30% of their market share in search to chats, to AI. And I mean, think of Google and how big Google is, and 30%, that's a really big chunk. And that was in just the last quarter, prior to that alone. And so, it's, yeah, jump on board. I mean, you've got AEO, GEO, and SEO now, and we all know how important SEO was, right? And still is. But now there's other pieces of it that we've got to get on board with. And so there's going to be updates that have to happen to websites and
Yep.
content and strategy behind all of that. And
Yeah.
We've
It's
board now
seen that a
before it gets
lot.
overwhelming, I guess.
I've seen
But
that a lot too, Carissa, like with the SEO, people can have such a dedicated SEO strategy that they've poured so much time and effort into for 10, 15 years, and it's not going away. That's all very foundational and it needs to stay. But just kind of thinking of AEO as like that sister piece of like, it's here too. And if you don't take care of that right now, you're going to fall so far behind.
Yeah, like I've told my team, we're just going to refer to it as SEO because it is all important. And AEO and GEO, they are just part of that SEO, right? It's just a different terminology because it's in a different platform. That's the only difference, but it is just as important and they're all equal parts now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. To be honest, Carissa, I had to Google what GEO was. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't even find an answer. What
Yeah.
is the G in the GEO?
Oh, what does GEO even stands for? They're all just terms. I do this a lot, right? Where I'm like, all the different terminology.
Generative. Thank
Generative. Thank
you.
you. I was like, well, I know what this is, and I know we
Right?
just start talking about it so often, and you don't like.
I remember my question. So one thing though that we've seen too on our end when it comes to like the AEO sides is different answer engine of generative answer engines, whatever they are. They use different criteria to give you your answers, which is so interesting. Like people are starting to notice that ChatGPT pulls a lot from Reddit. A lot, right? And so there's these certain areas that we're seeing AI engines pull from, and it's kind of interesting to watch our clients navigate that. Like we have one where he put in as if he were his own customer, uh, what I don't know, where can I go get X? And the answer engine did not recommend their business. And so then he asked AI, why didn't you recommend this business? And it gave you the answer why. And there was all these things. And there were some hidden poor reviews out there from years ago that haven't been addressed. And so he said, okay, well, what can I do to make it so that AI is open to suggesting my business? And having working through that, I think, with AI is also a great place to start, is for AI to say, hey, here's where we might recommend for you to help increase, your share, your potential to be the answer to these questions.
And I like to think of it as like a reverse engineering almost, like literally putting yourself in your customer's shoes and then finding out, this is why I didn't show up. And then you can actually go find the issue and get it fixed.
Hmm. Definitely. I am interested, since we're kind of talking about tools a little bit. Carissa, Jenny, your favorite AI tools
Oh,
or automations you're using. And it could be anything. It could be based off of it's the coolest. It could be based off of it saves you the most time. Anything that even just pops into your head as something. Let it rip.
there's so many. I think that from a simplicity standpoint of starting out and what it could do for me, ChatGPT was the easiest one to get into, to learn, and also to build my own custom GPTs, right? Like,
Sure.
not all of my staff that are GPTs are built in ChatGPT, but a portion of them are.
Mhm.
And it really depends. There are different strong suits of AI, just like there are different, strong suits of different programs that you can use for anything else, right? Um, if you're a chiropractor, you're going to use ChiroTouch and you're maybe not going to use, I don't know, whatever a dentist is going to use for a software platform or whatever it might be, right? Like there's different things that are different programs or AIs that are specialty to what you're doing. But chat was just the easiest one for me to kind of start with and build from. And I like that I can completely customize my GPT. I have a paid subscription, so I can also lock down my custom GPT, so you can't go find it. It is mine, it's mine alone. If I send it to you, you can use it, but you can't copy what my code is because I have it locked. Like things like that, where I mean, that's beneficial to me.
Yeah. Would you
Um,
say, Carissa, that that's something like maybe if you're within like the healthcare space, like to really consider, just because there's like HIPAA things out there and all sorts of
yeah,
security
I mean,
measures, like you got to be careful, right?
you have to be careful, right? Like it's you don't, nothing redact everything. That's my
Yeah.
biggest like maybe takeaway of everything is redact everything. No personal details, no HR details, nothing that you don't want shared because it is an open source platform. Now, a lot of people when it first came out were very you can't put anything in there that you don't want shared because AI will take what you put in and it will use it. Then, if I put in Falcon Plastics does XYZ, and then Allison goes out and searches Falcon Plastics, it may pull from what I said because I'm telling it, this is a fact, this is what we do. It can use that in the next thing, which is part of the fact checking everything it puts out when you ask for something. But it's, I think, also become more of a norm of people using it. And a lot of people, I think, now have just gotten so comfortable with it where they will throw anything in.
Yeah,
Um, and there's still very much some security risk there.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, I mean, I still think from any any business, there's opportunity to use AI. And it doesn't have to be AI in terms of writing blog posts and doing different things. It could be in terms of your sales funnel and your leads, automation and integration and that piece of it. That's a huge time saver for me too, to have AI implemented into, right? Like there's so many different ways that you can utilize it. It
yeah.
doesn't have to be from a standpoint of who your clients are and what their contact, their information in
Right.
order for you to use it. There's
It's
endless
truly like
possibilities.
as soon as you identify where you want to save time,
Yeah,
it's an opportunity
right.
immediately. Even if it's like no, there's no way. No, there's a way
Yeah.
for that to potentially shift, in how much that takes you. Jenny, favorite tool, favorite automation, go.
I too started out in ChatGPT. It was just like the most well known at the time that we started implementing AI. And since then, we've definitely tested out other ones. One of my favorite things to do is use the same prompt in multiple different platforms just to see what the difference is in the results and then kind of compile and kind of use that edit system that I have of like breaking down the pieces that I like from each one. Perplexity would be a close second for me. And then third, anything that I can integrate direct, like have the tool directly integrated into what I am doing so that I don't have to go elsewhere and use multiple places. So, like for example, Google Ads, they have a lot of AI tools built directly within Google now with Gemini, kind of piling those two together. So if I can do things where I'm generating headlines within Google Ads and not having to go over to ChatGPT and explain what I want it to do and then bring it back. So trying to find anything that I use in my day-to-day where I can use the AI that's already built into it because it's exploded in even the last 6 months
Yeah.
within the platforms that we use of how they're integrating it. And right now, it's still kind of in like this choice, like, do you want to use the AI or do you not? And I foresee in 2026 that choice is going to be diminished in a lot of places where it's just going to be a part of the platform.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're seeing it used I mean, like even Canva has AI, now. And so it's just going to keep being coming more and more a part of tools in 2026 and even further on. I too use ChatGPT as well, so I'll use a different one. But my favorite one right now is actually a closed AI, a closed loop AI. It's called Google Notebook LM. I don't know if either of you have. Karissa, you're smiling. Have you heard of this?
I have, and I use it.
Isn't it? It's fantastic. We're still implementing it over here, but
Yeah,
for the
where I'm implementing as well. I mean, I have
yes.
it, I
Okay,
use
we
it,
need
but
to share
implementing.
notes. We need to share notes then.
Sure.
So for everybody who doesn't know, Google Notebook LM is within the Google Workspace, one. So it is cost effective. If you're not using it, you should be. And what it means is it's a closed loop. So it uses documents and websites and URLs and other things that you upload to it as the base of knowledge. So it's actually, I think, supposed to be used as like a study tool. Because you can get like notebook or you can get note cards made. You can do it as a quiz. But a lot of businesses are starting to implement it for other reasons. Because one thing that we found at Nine Clouds is that our account managers, and probably for other agencies, this is the case as well, but our account managers are the hub of all client information. Their brains are so full of client information. And so we needed a place to make that more accessible on top of just through the account manager. So that's the base for it. Um, Another tool that almost our entire team uses all the time is called Text Expander. And what it does, Jetty, you could probably describe this better than I can, but I'll try. Is it uses a code and it will auto-populate you anything you want based off of that code. So, for example, we used a list called new/client. And anytime I type that in, this huge list of all these things I need to do pops up. And so it's a really great way of having all of those checklists be in one swift moment And I think our CEO, Sarah, pulled it today, and we're saving, it was either 2 days per week or 2 days per month. I forget. One's a lot more impressive than the other. But regardless, 2 days is what we're saving by using this tool called Text Expander. Jenny, did you want to add anything to Text Expander there?
So one thing with text expander is we even had that prior to AI, but using AI to help us create those text expanders has been really pivotal. Like when we've worked on a process and we have all these notes of like, okay, this is what I did, just going back and having it summarize it, create it into that checklist for us and having it as like a quick resource in the future has been just astronomical time savings.
Yep, definitely. And it will also help you with your spell check. Like the word offering for me is very difficult to spell. So I have a text expander that makes sure I spell it the right way every single time. So, um, chat or group, if you guys have any AI tools you really like, put them in the chat, please, because I love hearing and reading about new tools that I haven't heard from before. And I think everybody else on this webinar would like to too. Okay, onward to myth number three. And we've kind of hit this a little bit already, but AI is just too scary to use and it's not worth using because it's always changing. So Karissa, what has changed with how when you first started using AI to now? How quickly have things changed? How has your perspective changed? Talk to me
Mhm.
about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's the clarity, right? So when I first started, I think it was an experimentation, a curiosity, and now I use it with intention. I use it to embed workflows. There definitely is providing clarity and speed, consistency, and I don't chase every new tool, right? Like I've learned that the stability comes from like how I use AI and not necessarily which tool I use.
Sure.
But that consistency and like we talked earlier about like you've got to train your AI to understand your tone, your brand, your voice, everything, and what does that look like for you in terms of consistency, right? And not necessarily if you're going to chase every new tool, you're probably never going to figure them all out deeply. The last show that or conference that I was at was MACON, it's Marketing AI Conference in Cleveland in October, and phenomenal conference if you're looking for one. I honestly don't know that I've ever walked out of a conference with so much knowledge and notes and such a great experience. I'm still very overwhelmed with everything that I learned from that conference. And I'm embedded in AI and I work in it daily and just the amount of it. But the gal that was talking on Google Gemini had even said, she goes, I used to love going to work because I could go to work and I'd put it away at the end of the day and I'd come back the next day and I'd pick up and go. And she goes, and now that I am in and working with coding on Gemini, she goes, I almost hate it because she goes, I will leave work at 9 p.m. and I'll come back at 6 a.m. and I have to relearn my whole job all over again because in that course of that, what 12 hours, 7, 8, whatever hours that she leaves her work at work and to come back to, it's continued to develop and grow itself that fast. So
Yeah.
it's never really chasing the tools to me. And her comment on that kind of solidified that for me that
Yeah.
I'm never going to really fully learn all of them if I go after all of them. I need to pick the ones that are going to provide me with the consistency and the clarity and really help me to nail down the really busy work and the tedious work that I have and what can streamline that for me.
So where do you've been to a lot of conferences now, you're implementing a lot of AI in your own business. Where do you see maybe AI shifting this year versus last year? Any hypotheses at all?
No. I don't even want to guess. I really don't. I do think that just from a perspective, and I live in a manufacturing world, like I'm manufacturing marketing. And I really do think that at least from the world that I live in, if companies like mine, like I work for Falcon Plastics, if we're not going to lean in and adopt this, even from an operations standpoint, an internal office standpoint, whatever it might be, to start integrating it, I really think it's going to be a huge driver in legitimacy of businesses staying afloat in the next probably 10 years, even. Like
Yeah.
it's really such a big piece that it's like, if you can cut not cutting labor because I don't think it's ever going to replace people, but it is going to replace, maybe as labor leaves, some of that workload that they were doing that other people can do, or it's going to take away all of that, the menial tasks that our staff work on every day, and it's going to give them the opportunity to develop themselves more professionally and work on bigger things and really take a company to the next level.
Yeah. Jenny, same question to you. You know, what shifts should businesses expect for AI in 2026?
So I think we're going to move from this model of it being kind of a novelty to more of like that necessity model, like Karissa was just talking about. Like if you don't adopt it, you're going to fall so far behind. And one example I'm going to give you on this. So aside from my marketing job, my family also farms. And I remember growing up that we always talked about self-driving tractors. And it was like this really far off thing that nobody ever really saw it happening or coming. And, they introduced little things like auto steer where the tractor could drive itself, but you still had somebody in that seat. And just this last year at Farm Progress, they released the self-driving tractor where you will literally sit in an office and your tractor will be out in the field running and you will be in the comfort of your own home running that tractor. And so I kind of see that expedited timeline in the business world, just like we've seen on the agriculture side of things. And I don't think everybody is really expecting it or ready for it. So just being ready to adapt and change as things change, get your base, start with your chat GPT, your Gemini, whatever your base AI is, and then finding your industry and saying, okay, this is our CRM and this is the AI they're offering with this CRM. This is what we're going to really focus on. We're going to hone in on it and we're going to learn it. And then we're going to adapt as things change. So, like I said, having a strong base and then picking out what works best for your industry.
Yeah, and I think you can go about both ways. I almost, Jenny, would go the opposite. I say you almost have to lean into it before you understand it.
Oh,
You've
100%.
got to lean into it and start implementing it and figure it out as you go, because it's one of those things, it's like buying a house or having a kid, right? Like if you wait for the best time to do it, you're never going to do it. AI is the same way. Like if you wait until you learn it, you're never going to do it because you're never really going to learn it. Like, I mean, if the people writing the code to develop it are learning it as they're developing it, us as users, we're never going to be able to understand it all fully to implement either then.
And I think that's a strong point, Chris, is that the experts in this field are new. Like this isn't something that somebody's studied for 50 years and has all this base knowledge on.
Yeah.
They're learning it right alongside of us, like you said. So just knowing that like you don't have to be an expert to use it and that you can make mistakes with it and you can evolve and change and, go back and do it different the next time. You're not performing brain surgery here. It's using AI. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, just use what you can and learn and make better decisions the next time.
Yeah. You're the expert in what you do and you know where your time is spent and where your pain points are.
Yeah.
And you're the expert in that. And that's all you need to be the expert of.
Yep.
To start implementing.
I think that's a good point too. Like maybe your first step is demystifying it. If you're scared. My mom texted me the other day and says, all it said was, "How do I use AI?" And I thought to myself, oh Lord. I was like, well, there's lots of different roads that could go. And I don't think anybody wants my mom using AI. That could lead to bad things. But I do think, as long as you go into it again with the understanding that it's going to take time. Like one area that I really foresee people using AI in the new year is probably with their billing. If you're having to do billing and invoices every single month, automate that stuff and make it easier on yourself. Obviously, you still need to check things. That's the expectation of also who you're sending those invoices to. But I think a lot of people will look at that and say, well, that's going to take too long to figure out. I'll just keep doing it this way. Well, if that's the case, we would have still all be in horse and buggies instead of driving around in cars. So somebody's got to make that first step to figuring that stuff out. So, okay. Onward. The next myth, again, kind of touching base on all of these a little bit as we go. But there is too much room for error when it comes to AI, and it's just easier if I do it myself. Karissa, I'm curious. When you were first starting out with AI, and I know I'm making you recollect a lot and reflect. What kinds of mistakes or oopses were you finding yourself making often when you first started using it?
Sure. I think a big one was not adding enough context.
Mm.
So one thing that I've learned, and this is maybe handy for everybody, is I no longer type into AI. I talk. I do talk to text into AI
Oh.
because we give so much more information when we're talking than we do when we're typing. And so I don't type into AI anymore. I talk everything into my AI because it gives that much more context. And it also gets your tone, right? And how you say things and the cadence and the rhythm in which you're talking, like it can pick all of that up, right? I also think I expected maybe perfection instead of iteration.
True.
Um, and definitely used AI before I defined a process. Like as I'm implementing now, define the process first, then use AI to build it. Don't use AI to define it.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. Um, Jenny, I'm curious, we've talked a little bit about compliance things. Is there any area maybe that we would recommend businesses avoid using AI for? Or, like we've talked about, if there's a will, there's a way to use AI for something, but just maybe these are also more like be cautious.
Yeah, so we kind of have a list we operate off of at Nine Clouds, just with, like anything that's like a sensitive HR decision, just that personal, you can use it for like overarching, but just not like specific details. Like, please don't upload your social security number to AI. Like, just, making really smart decisions on that side of things. And then also, like, on a legal compliance side of things, there's just things that AI doesn't need to know. And so, kind of treating it, I don't want to say like boomers treated the internet at the beginning of just being scared of it. But just knowing like that what you put in there is accessible in other places. So just being very, very cautious. And for us too, I think aside from like the legal side of things, like don't expect it to automate too much of like your client communications. It really just removes that trust and authenticity when you have even just one mistake slip through of like, oh boy, that was automated, like where it said like insert your client name and you didn't insert their name, like that's just such a quick thing. So just knowing that like at the end of the day, you can have it help with those things, but really being sure that you refined it.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. What it spits out, you likely don't own the copyright to or any of the legal anything. Like you don't own that content. The AI company does. There's some that you do, but most don't. I use the tagline with my team when we're talking about it that AI isn't risky when it has guardrails. It's risky when it doesn't. So noting, AI needs oversight, like your interns need oversight, or your agencies, or first drafts of anything you write. Right? We proof everything. It's the same thing with AI. Like it all needs oversight,
Definitely. Definitely.
or you end up
Um,
like Coca-Cola.
yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like that's a good point, Carissa, that I am also right. We're all noticing when it's being used,
Mhm.
but I think I don't know, like not especially with like visuals and videos. Sometimes when I notice it, especially in the Coca-Cola example, it kind of makes me a little like, huh, like there was opportunity there. Like, come on, this is what you gave me. So
But it also goes to show that you still need that human
you
piece, right? Like
do.
you have to have the human piece. We all know the Coke commercials that grabbed heartstrings and yanked hard, right? Up
Mhm.
until this year. And that was the human aspect of it. And when you cut that human out, now you've got, I mean, trucks running people over in the road and 20
Yeah.
bunnies becoming one. And, you run into issues and
Yep.
you need that
100%.
oversight.
Okay, well, this is actually a myth that we haven't touched on yet, and I think is something that personally I've struggled with, but I've gotten over. Um, if AI helps create it, then it's cheating. And this is a big one, I think. So, Carissa,
Yeah.
did you feel like it was cheating? Do you feel like it's cheating? Like, what is your mindset first
I
versus now, or
I think initially when I started using it, it was, I don't know if it felt like cheating, but it definitely felt really uncomfortable.
yeah.
That, it was too convenient to have the ideas or things like generated so quickly when it would take so much longer for a team to do it. But I did reframe the thinking on it. So now I don't look at AI necessarily from that perspective. I look at it the same way that in the, I don't even know when Microsoft Word rolled out, say 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. It's spell check, right? Spell check, none of us think twice about now. Calculator, same way, right? When calculators rolled out back whenever it was, like my grandma always remembers saying, like, oh, when calculators came out, we just thought, people aren't going to use their brains anymore. Well, it's a tool. The same with like, templates to build whatever it might be,
Mm,
it
yeah.
doesn't matter. Just look at it from that perspective, and it's simply a tool. It accelerates thinking. It doesn't replace any of our expertise by any means. It just helps us to accelerate it. And I
Yeah.
think that, the value certainly comes from editing and refining. You know your audience so much better than AI will ever know your audience.
Yeah.
So you
I
Definitely.
think
gotta,
a big part of that, Carissa, too, is using transparency. So like when you do
yeah,
use AI for something, just giving it credit, like saying
yeah.
like, "Hey, this wasn't 100% me. I used AI." And not like, I don't want to say like shaming yourself into it, but just being like very transparent with whoever
Mhm.
it is that you're using the AI with.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think you go to the cheating, and I guess my thought on that is, cheating skips thinking, right? And
Yeah.
AI forces clearer thinking if you
Yeah.
use it appropriately.
Definitely. Definitely. Jenny, I'm curious, what's something AI consistently gets wrong for you? And how do you work with that instead of expecting perfection?
So the biggest thing that I've noticed, especially when doing client work, is both brand nuance and kind of your emotional tone. What you want AI to sound like, especially when we can train it to sound like us personally, but then we work with multiple clients. So I don't speak for my clients the same way that I speak for myself, that I speak for Nine Clouds. And so kind of having that model of like, okay, can you give me a base for this? But then this is the tone that this particular car dealership uses, or this is the tone that an OB unit at the hospital would use. Like it's not the same thing across the board. So just kind of looking at it as like a way to kind of accelerate our work, but we still have to like insert that expertise that we have, that previous knowledge that we have. And kind of like, like you talked about the A team, like you house those things in your brain of what you really want it to sound like. And just kind of implementing that tone ourselves. We've gotten better with our prompts in getting AI closer to that, but it's still not that perfect piece that we want. And so that's where we just add that human aspect at the end of it. Use it for the framework, but at the end of the day, it has to sound like the client.
Yeah, definitely. Chris, I'm curious, same question for you. Is there any place that AI just consistently gets wrong for you at all right now? Or
I mean, yeah, if I'm gonna expect it to do something for me fully, it's probably gonna, I mean, it gets it wrong almost every time, right? Like
yeah.
it's never perfect, but that's just that it's the human touch. It's gonna always be required,
Mhm.
and you can give it as much context as you want, and you can get it really close to being what you wanted from your
Mhm.
original like first draft, but you still have to proof, and you've still got
Right.
to pull back. Like it's never perfect off the bat.
Absolutely. Kind of along these same lines then, for both of you, where do you draw the line between cutting corners and efficiency? Are they the same? Are they different? Anything along those lines? Jenny?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, as far as like the cutting corners thing, I mean, I look at it as more of a way to free up more of my time to do my job better, and more thoroughly, I guess I would say. If I can eliminate the things that were hogging up my time, my busy work, whatever that was, so that I can sit down and actually like have a creative brainstorm session to where I have time to actually implement what I want to get across versus saying like, hey, I just got to pump this email out as quickly as I possibly can. I don't have time to work on the graphic. Like it's just going to have to be what it's going to have to be because I have a limited amount of time. So using it as that aid, as that assistant without fully relying on it to do the task start to finish for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I don't look at it really as a cutting a corner because I still have to put the work in,
Yeah.
right? But I do rely on it to help replace, like I said at the beginning, the overwhelm
Mhm.
of what the task that I'm working on might be, and utilize it. It's a tool. That's all it is. It's a second person sitting across from you to bounce an idea off of, things like that, right? Like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I like the calculator analogy, Allison, because I've been working on some of my children's math. And if I had to sit down and do long division every single day, like it's not going to happen. And I'm not cheating because I used a calculator to do it. And
Right.
actually, there's new math now. And if you have a child with new math, use AI because it's going to explain it to you a lot better than what the teacher can.
Noted. Noted for future reference. Thank you very much. Okay, well, before we get into a closing of some sort very casually, I wanted to open it up for questions from the group. Anything that you guys want to ask our panelists. We'll leave it open for a little bit, see if anything comes in. If not, too, I think all three of us are on things like LinkedIn. We can, Carissa, are you okay with sharing your email
Yeah,
address with this
absolutely. My
group?
email, my LinkedIn, whatever.
Perfect. Okay. Well, yeah, you guys can always just shoot us a message there. We're happy to chat about anything, swap tools and whatnot. So yeah, so send those questions in if we don't have any. My, I guess, final note for you both before we wrap up is if someone's feeling uneasy about AI still after all of this, what would you tell them based on your own experience or how their businesses should use AI in 2026 for a start? Go.
I would say my biggest thing is just it's a learning curve. Like nobody is perfect the first time they've tried anything. And with any new software you learn, there's always these little hiccups and things that don't quite make sense from the start. But if you just take the time and you're willing to invest some time into it and get kind of your hands dirty and just see what happens, your confidence will grow over time.
Perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's that AI doesn't diminish your work, right? It exposes your thinking, maybe. So I think it's going to make you smarter in the long run. I think it's going to make you think more and be more intentional with the work that you are doing. Um, it gives me time back for the strategy and the creativity and the relationships. And I think that that aspect of it in being able to stay human and intentional with myself and how I am with my clients or my customers or my team members. I think that's a big piece of it, right? Is your value was never really in the busy work. I think AI just makes it obvious.
Perfect. All right. Awesome. Well, that's all we've got for today. Carissa, Jenny, thank you both for hopping on and being a part of this. Carissa's got her LinkedIn and her email there for anybody interested. We'll make sure that all of them are in a follow-up email here shortly, and we're also going to be sending this recording to the group. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Great to see you. Have a good rest of your day. Ta-ta for now.